So today we will talk about the New India Literacy Program which is recently approved by the Cabinet. What is the main objective of this New India Literacy Program is basically that to impart skill to the youth who are basically at the 15 years of age or above the 15 years of age. So let's talk about the New India Literacy Rate. So why new? As I have already told you that a new scheme, New India Literacy Program, basically for the period of fiscal year 2022 to 2027, basically the 5 years to cover all aspects of adult education has been approved by the cabinet. So remember that. If you talk about the scheme, then remember that basically the total budget is around 1338 you can consider crore, and the central share is 700 crore and the state share is 337.90 crore. So remember that. If you talk about now, it is also in line with the budget 2021 which announced that increase in access to resources, online modules covering the entire gamut of education for all will be introduced. So remember that this is basically the education for all, but remember the age. This is basically for the age which are at the 15 years or above the 15 years, not below less or less than the 15 years. So age is very important in this scheme. Remember that. If we talk about what is the aim, as I have already told you that to educate the non-literate who are 15 years or above. So remember that to educate the non-literate youth. So remember that who are 15 years or above the 15 years of age, to impart the foundational literacy and numeracy skill through quality and inclusive education with voluntary participation of people. So remember that what is the main aim? Basically to impart the skill to the youth who are at the 15 years or above the 15 years through the quality. So remember that, and that is for the education for all who are at the age of this. Remember that this is the basic aim of New India Literacy Program. So if you talk about the salient features of the New India Literacy Program, then remember that it basically includes the participation of about 3 crore students as volunteers. So remember that. Another point, if you talk about estimated 20 lakh students of teacher education and higher educational institution will be actively involved in this program. Further, if you talk about the support will be taken from the Panchayati Raj institution, Anganwadi workers, ASA workers, and an estimated 50 lakh from the Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan, National Social Services, National Cadet Corps volunteers. So remember that. If you talk about the philanthropic and CSR organization, means the corporate social responsibility organization participation through volunteerism, or there will be portal will be developed. So remember that. If you talk about this scheme will use all types of media including the print media to the digital media, but remember that all the material will be provided only digitally. So remember that. This is the very important point. Convergence of the different ministries and department will be taken for effective implementation. Another point, if you talk about a central portal will be developed by the National Informatics Center which comes under the Ministry of Electronics. Remember that for the data capturing. So there will be a separate central portal will be developed for the data capturing of a student who are registering on the portal for to impart skill. So remember. So further remember that school will be the unit for the implementation and the other purpose. Remember that. If you talk about online teaching and assessment system known as the OTLAS in collaboration with the National Informatics Center, NCRT, and the National Institute of Open Schooling will be developed. So remember that there will be online teaching and assessment system. Everything will be online and all the materials will be provided digitally either in the print form or in the PDF. So remember that. If you talk about so non-literates of 15 years or above in the all state, remember that all state and union territories are eligible, which I have already told you. So remember that. If you talk about what are the main objectives of this scheme, basically to impart not only the foundational literacy and the numeracy, but also provide that skill which is needed in the 21st century to develop the youth or to develop the nation. That is very, very important objective. So if you talk about, there are although other schemes than critical life skill. Firstly, the financial and digital literacy, which is very lacking in India and need to provide, and also the RBI governor has also said that India has also the low financial and digital literacy, which need to provide through this New India Literacy Program. Another is the communication skill, very, very important skill in 21st century. If you talk about, another is the healthcare, awareness and child care and education, and another is the family welfare comes under the critical life skill provided under the New India Literacy Program. Another, if you talk about, there are the vocational skill to obtain the local employment. What do you mean by the local employment? Suppose if there is a handicraft in some state are very famous, then they will provide or impart skill by the state to take a local employment in handicraft. So remember that, as you know, India has a history of handicraft. So remember that. If we talk about what are the basic skills will be provided, that include the preparatory, middle and secondary stage equivalent. Other, if you talk about, there are the continuing education, then remember that basically includes the engaging holistic adult education. Courses in basically offered in arts, science and technology, culture, sports and recreation, as well as other topics of interest used to local learners, such as more advanced materials or critical life skill will be also provided under the New India Literacy Program. So this is all about the New India Literacy Program. If you talk about the summary of this video, remember that it is a 5-year plan from the 2022 to 2027. It is also includes the both the center and the state, means there is a centrally sponsored scheme, you can say. If you talk about, it is age is the main factor. If you talk about, it is basically the age which are at the 15 or above, 15 years or above. So remember that this scheme is for that, and remember that, and that is for education of for all. If you talk about what is the main aim is basically to impart skill which is required not only financially or digitally, but also whatever is required in the 21st century. If you talk about artificial intelligence, internet of things, if you talk about blockchain technology and other kind of science and technological skill which needed in the 21st century will be provided. Obviously there are the various criteria, basic skill, vocational skill, if you talk about critical life skill, and the continuing education skills will be provided under the New India Literacy Program. Remember that. So thank you guys, hope you like this video.